This episode of Housing for Good is brought to you by listeners and supporters just like you. If you believe in creating safe, stable, and affordable housing for everyone, consider supporting the McPherson Housing Coalition. Your donation helps us provide housing solutions, support services, and hope to those who need it the most. To donate, visit our website, McPhersonHousingCoalition.org. All donations are tax deductible. Thank you.
Welcome to Housing for Good, a podcast dedicated to housing topics and issues affecting our communities in McPherson County and beyond. With years of experience and expertise, hosts Chris Goodson and Karolyn Moore discuss housing challenges and opportunities with other experts from a variety of housing fields.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Housing for Good. I'm Karolyn.
And I'm Chris.
Okay, Chris, do you have any news for the day?
No, I will say that the rain and flooding that we had in McPherson, Kansas.
Yes.
So it really displaced a lot of people. You know, we think about natural disasters, but we don't always think about water, tornadoes, hurricanes, earthquakes, that type of thing. But you don't really consider water. So I know in our community, there's been several families that have been displaced. One guy had a big old tree through his roof. I saw that.
Yes.
And then other people have had water in their buildings, in their homes. I know we got really close to having a lot of water in our building, but thank goodness it didn't happen and everything was dry and safe. The next morning, I walked in here with my eyes closed real tight. And I saying, okay, here we go. And I looked and there was nothing. And I was like, yay, hallelujah. There's no water, nothing's damaged. And we just keep on keeping on. But just think, just for our business alone and the nonprofit, if it had water, we would have had to hurry up and try to figure that out. So be thinking about that in your communities, especially if there is a natural disaster or even just water. You know, how can you help or get involved with that?
Yeah. We were contacted by Laura Parks at United Way, wanting to know if there was anybody that had reached out to us to say, hey, I could use some help with yard cleanup.
Yeah.
We were able to send one person her way, but if you've driven down the streets of McPherson, I know there's a lot of brush that's been taken to the landfill, but there is a lot of brush on every street.
I know. We had a giant limb. We live on the north end of town where there's not quite as many trees, but we had a huge 6-foot limb fall off our tree, or fall off, break off. I don't know. It's not on there anymore. And a cute little bird's nest. I felt really bad for the bird. But anyway, so who do we have here today, Karolyn? I'm really excited.
So today we are joined with a couple of ladies from Safe Families, an organization they work at. We have Sherry Koehn and Melissa Burley. So let's get started, ladies. Would you please introduce yourself and the organization you represent?
Yeah, well, I'll start. I'm Sherry Koehn. I'm the Community and Church Engagement Coordinator with Safe Families for Children, and I will pass it over to Melissa.
My name's Melissa Burley, and I am the Chapter Director for the North Central Region.
Oh, wow.
Safe Families. So really cool thing. We've just expanded into the North Central Region, so we're just starting, and we are ready to run.
How many counties is that?
My area alone is about 24 counties. So
oh, my word.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then you'll have maybe a person here, like Sherry, come in who's taking over in that area, and then you oversee the whole 24 counties.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that what that looks like? Okay.
Yeah. And we have hired a community and church engagement coordinator in that area, but Sherry is my person here in McPherson County.
Okay. So tell us more about what you do. I'm really curious about Safe Families. I've heard that name tossed around a lot, but I have no idea.
Yeah, so Safe Families for Children, we come alongside families that are going through a challenge or a crisis, and we're able to offer support. And we're able to offer support in 3 ways. One way is being a host, having host families that will actually temporarily take children into their home and host them while mom or dad are getting back on their feet again. And then we have Family Friend. That's just coming alongside, being a mentor, helping them with resources, helping them just meet at a park and let their kids play together and just kind of share life together. We're trying to fill that gap. Just so many people are living very lonely, isolated lives. So we're just trying to do our best to kind of fill that gap and be a friend to people, especially single moms, primarily we see a lot of that. A lot of moms, they're just going about their life, very busy with their job, their kids in school, their kids' activity, but then something happens and then just one thing after another happens, and then before you know it, they're kind of in a challenge or a crisis. And so we're just trying to come alongside and support them any way we can.
So aren't you curious about that first one? It sounds like foster care a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah. So how long would that be? Does it just depend on the individual situation as to how long you might host the kids?
Yes. Ideally, we want to keep it short. Our national average hosting is about 4 to 6 weeks. We do that intentionally because we're trying to be preventative to foster care. Mm-hmm. We want the family to stay together. And so anything we can do to help that family stay together. So that's what we're working toward. Just so many times good parents, because one thing led to another, and before you know it, a good mom or dad is losing their kids to the system. So we're trying to be in that place of prevention.
Yeah.
How do we recruit families for that? That sounds like a really important thing for people to do.
Yeah.
But how do you get involved? How do you know, is there like a, something where you come with them and you say, okay, you sit them down and go, okay, this is what you can and can't do. Here's the rules. There has to be some kind of guidelines, I'm guessing, or something that would tell people, this is what we can and can't do.
I'll kind of take that one since I do community and church engagement. So we're faith-based. So we're always trying to go into churches and doing our recruitment of volunteers in churches. So any opportunity that I have to meet with a pastor, a ministry lead, somebody in the church, just to present what Safe Families does. Mm-hmm. And then from there, just encourage the people in their congregation to consider being a volunteer for Safe Families. There's some things that are involved, obviously, in them being a volunteer with us, and I can get into that now or get into it later. It's up to you guys.
I'm curious. I think we should go on just with that train of thought. So we have a lot to talk about here, but I am really curious because if somebody's listening, they're like, do I really want to get into that? What are the rules? What can I do, and what can I do? Is there training? I think that's really important for people because people are hesitant, I think, to bring somebody into their home. They're very hesitant. And so it's like, how do we steer that a little bit, help them figure that out?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're going to kind of tag team this. So I'm going to let Melissa talk for a little bit here, and then we'll go from there.
So there is training. We provide that training, and we do some in-home training, and I'll let you kind of talk a little bit more about that. And then there's some online training. There's a walkthrough of the home. It's not as stringent as foster care because we're not requiring the same things of a host family as we are a foster care family. Take that, Sherry.
All right, we'll do. So one of the things we do is we have initial training that would be coming and doing a home walkthrough and some training on the spot in the volunteer's home. And so that looks about like 1 to 2 hours. Then we have e-learning training that they can do at their own pace online. That's about 2 to 3 hours. And then what we do is they go through, when they're interested, they have an application process. And in that application process, they're being vetted. They're being FBI, KBI background checked, fingerprinted, and then, of course, that includes the home walkthrough and the training. Mm-hmm. Again, we're Safe Families. We want to be all about safety and keeping it safe, so we are properly vetting our volunteers.
So that's not only for you, but if I'm a parent, even if I'm struggling, I want to know where my kid's going.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, how many churches in McPherson have you been able to bring online? Because I know the first time we had a conversation, you were just trying to kind of get your foot in the door.
Yes. So we have presented at Countryside Covenant Church. That is the main church that we've had to present there. Their associate pastor, he and his wife in the state they lived in before, they were Safe Families for Children volunteers. So when they moved to McPherson, they were calling us in Wichita with our Wichita chapter and saying, hey, where's Safe Families at? So had the opportunity to present there. I will have to admit, and understandably, we're, again, in a very different season post-COVID. Mm-hmm. I think people, to your point, people are very reluctant to volunteer. So it's been a slow process, honestly, just kind of getting out there and getting the word out. We have a couple of interests at Countryside Covenant Church. They're in the process of going through the application process, but there's been certain things. Obviously, they can have the best of intentions, but maybe their family all of a sudden goes through a season of something, and so it puts it on hold. So again, and we're excited now that we just hired Melissa because she just started with us in April.
Okay.
So that's going to be part of her role too, and I'm trying to kind of work with her together because I help with the McPherson area, but I live in Newton, and I'm hired with the Wichita chapter. So I'm kind of covering a lot of area too, because we're just trying to get the word out about Safe Families.
What a great program.
Yeah.
That's a really great
so
program.
So if you are a family that is struggling and you're going, oh, wow, hearing about this program, this could offer some hope. How do the families that need your help find out about you? Or is there a referral process, and how does that work?
Yeah. I'll let you
want me to take that one? We do have a centralized intake line, so they can go to safe-families.org. If they call that number or if they look that up, then it will put you in direct contact with our centralized intake line, and that intake is done by a person, and she sends the referral to us, and then we reach out to the family.
Okay. Wow. I absolutely love this.
Yeah.
So you say you're located, Sherry, you work with Wichita, and your office is in Newton.
Mm-hmm. Because our office is basically our home.
Okay.
Our home and coffee shops.
And then for the northeast section of the state, where is the office located there?
North Central, and I also office from home. My area will go over to the Manhattan, north up to the Nebraska border, and then west to the Hayes area.
That's big. That's
she's got a big area.
Wow.
And are you the only one working in that area?
Well, we just hired a church and community engagement coordinator in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long has Safe Families actually been an active agency?
So, that's interesting. We started in Chicago 21 years ago, and our founder, his name's Dave Anderson. He's a pastor and child psychologist. He started it, and he just had a heart for this. Kind of what happened was part of his job being a child psychologist, he was interviewing a mom whose child had been taken away by the state. He's trying to process in his mind, get the story here. What has happened here? This lady seems like she's got it together. She had her job, all that. So he's just kind of listening to her story. And he said, I have to admit, I was trying not to judge her, but he's just like, I'm trying to process this. And she basically told the story of she had moved to the Chicago area. I think, again, unfortunately, like a lot of single women, promise of a relationship. The relationship didn't go the way that she thought, but she already had a good job, had her daughter in, daycare, kind of a preschool situation, and everything's going along fine. But then her daughter had an extended illness, and she was missing work. Obviously, the daycare wouldn't allow the child to come because the child was sick. And then, unfortunately, she's starting to get pressure from work. You haven't been here. You need to come to work. And so in that moment of challenge or crisis, she just makes a bad decision in that, okay, I'm going to have my only person I know, my unfortunately abusive ex-boyfriend, come and watch the child. And while she was at work, she gets a call from the emergency room. Her daughter is in the emergency room. The boyfriend had beat the child. So then the neighbors called, they get involved. One thing leads to another.
Man.
This child's been, removed by the state. And so he's just basically going, what happened here? What kind of person he was. Why would you have him come watch your child? And he says, this woman said the words that changed the trajectory of his life, in that she said, if only I would have had somebody.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there as a pastor going, we've got a church on every corner.
Right.
Where is the church in this, filling this gap? And so there 21 years ago in Chicago, he, with his wife, started this and just took a leap of faith, had no idea how this was going to work, and just that's where it started. So that was 21 years ago in Chicago. Safe Families is in 32 states.
Wow.
And then we are in Canada, UK, and Hong Kong. And then surprisingly, we're pretty new to Kansas. I don't know, it just surprises me thinking of Kansas being right in the middle and that kind of thing. But
I think people don't think we have the problems we have. They think we
that's
have no
true.
homelessness.
you're
They
right.
think we have all this stuff. We don't have all these things because we're this nice little communities, smaller towns. We don't have these problems.
Yeah.
But we do.
Yeah.
Just like anybody else. It's just ours just seem to be a lot more hidden than in the bigger cities. So I get it. But what an incredible story that is. And we can identify with that because I think with our families that we help with our programs, it's the same thing. And we can step in and help them get a home where otherwise they may end up in the car with their child. And it's simple.
Yeah.
I mean, what we do is not, and what I feel like what you're doing is not that complicated and it makes sense. And if especially the churches get more involved in their communities, the changes are amazing.
Well,
So-
when
Yes.
Sherry was telling that story, I'm thinking, this probably happens more than we want to realize
Yeah.
or even admit, is that one thing that because you don't have the family around you, our society, families across this country are so spread apart.
Yeah.
When I grew up back in a long time ago, I had my aunts and uncles around me, my grandparents. We had this safety net of family. But when you move and you have nobody and then the relationship breaks apart and now you're by yourself, one of the great things that I always try to point families that I work with to is, I don't know what your belief system is, but, church is a wonderful place. First of all, they will pray for you and they will love you and your children. And if there's something that you have that's a need, they will do everything they can to help you with that. Not everybody has that. Not everybody goes on Sunday. And so it's like, how do you find that relationship with safe people?
Yeah,
And
so many people, they just lack that circle of support is what we call. They
Yeah.
just don't have that circle of support. So unfortunately, if you don't have a church home, you don't have family around you, it's kind of like exactly what you're saying. One thing leads to another, and before you know it, you don't have anybody. And especially single moms, where they're just doing their thing. They're going to work, working hard every day, coming home, getting their kids from school, getting their kids around to their activities, working on homework.
Yeah.
Making dinner, going to bed. I mean, and
It's a
so
lot.
that's not a lot of time,
Yeah.
especially if you're new to a community,
Yeah.
to have time to even learn of
Yeah.
other resources or relationships. So again, just trying to fill
Some
that
single
gap.
dads.
Yeah.
Same for
yeah.
single dads.
Yes, we've had
Absolutely.
So I want to move on a little bit to the second thing that you talked about, walking beside somebody. So if somebody needed a friend, sometimes people are not willing to bring somebody into their home because that's their safe space, and I totally understand that. You really have to have a heart for a lot of this stuff to make sure you're not doing harm to yourself or to someone else. But I think that all of us could walk beside somebody and be a friend. So what does that look like?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the
Sure.
family friending? Yeah.
This is one of my favorite things to talk about because there is no end to what this could look like. I say this could look like maybe we mentioned a dad who maybe has to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning and his kids are having some truancy issues because he's not there to take them to school in the morning. And somebody can offer to pick his children up and take them to school. Or same for a mom. It could look like a mom she's got a lot of kids and she's very overwhelmed and she doesn't have a great support system like Sherry talked about. And it's inviting her to coffee once a week or a weekly phone call just to check in and encourage. And I think the possibilities are endless. It could look like maybe an older woman who loves to garden and can help the family know how to stretch their budget by gardening. So I just think there's no end to the number of ways you can be a friend to a family in need.
And do you help make those relationships as well?
We do. We do. The cool thing about Safe Families is that not only are we supporting the family, the placing parent, we are also supporting the host family, the volunteer family, the family friend.
So do they go through the same type of checks where they have to go FBI or KBI or whatever you were talking about earlier? Do the friends have to go through all that as well?
They do.
Yeah.
They
So,
do.
I mean, are there certain criteria if somebody had a felony 10 years ago and it's not been wiped off their we're actually working with that right now, trying to help people get rid of, what do they call
Expungement.
that? Expungements. We
Yeah.
actually have an expungement clinic coming up, by the way, everybody.
Nice.
But anyway, so that type of thing then maybe would exclude somebody from being able to do this, depending on who they are, maybe.
It could, and the crime.
Okay.
You know, I think they're going to take it more seriously if it's a crime against persons.
Okay.
That's kind of a red flag, but
Yeah.
there is, taken into consideration that expungement. And so we don't rule people out who have maybe drug charges in their background and things like that. And I know we've been asked about that before. So
You just have
Yeah.
to have that record cleaned up and your life on track before we're going to allow you to walk beside somebody who's trying to now do what you've already done.
Right.
We want you to be further along that journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I love about this program is they're actually working with families that are still housed before the family's evicted, before it gets to the point where there's no house to take the kids home to.
So they are, I didn't realize that. So they have to be housed, or are most of them housed, or what does that look like? Have you had a family come to you before that is not housed and they're afraid they're going to get those kids taken away? Because I think you can have your children taken away if you are homeless.
that's indeed. They have several of those. We've helped several of those families.
So you can
who
get
have-
them
yes.
back on their feet then at that point and try to get them rehoused at some point
Yes.
and move forward that
Yeah.
way?
The really beautiful thing is that the parents maintain custody of their children, and the host family is working to maintain those connections, because children don't feel safe if they don't have connection with their parents,
Oh,
regardless
absolutely.
of the difficulties that they've been through. So, yeah.
So you're a nonprofit. Do you take donations if someone wanted to donate toward your organization or get involved? How do they do that? What does that look like?
Absolutely, yeah. Donations, yes, always welcome. I can get more detail on that. I would say probably the main place would be safefamilies.org. And then churches support us. And then we're fortunate in the state of Kansas, we get a grant from the state. So that helps us a lot.
People
right now.
do not understand that when you have a nonprofit, you have administrative fees.
Right.
I've heard so many times, oh my goodness, they spend all this money on admin. Well, you have to have staff
Yeah,
at some point.
yeah.
I mean, you can do volunteers only to a certain extent.
Right.
Yeah.
And you have to shuffle paper and you have to have laptops and there's all these things that have to happen. And so we always encourage people to understand that and volunteer and donate to these great organizations. We have great organizations across the state of Kansas
We do. And
that
Yeah,
are really
absolutely.
helping people get their life back and move forward. And I feel like this is a hand up, not a hand out. So you're helping the families retain custody of their kids. You're helping them to move forward and to be able to be successful then as parents, as people in our state. And yeah.
So if I belong to a church and I want my pastor to hear what you guys are doing, can I reach out to you to find out
Absolutely, yeah.
information and then pass that on to the pastor? Maybe there's a pastor listening and they're going, hey, wait a minute, we're missing out on this.
Yeah.
Same thing. If they just go to safefamilies.org, they can find all that information for contact.
Yes.
How long, when you come in, this is something that every pastor is terrified of. I'm going to invite you to come in and do a presentation,
Yeah.
and you're going to take over my entire hour service.
Yeah. Nope. So
we don't even want to.
Yeah, we don't even want to. So that's a great question. So the churches that I've presented at, or we as a team have presented at, it's usually we're meeting with the pastor or somebody with his staff ahead of time, having a coffee, just talking about what we're going to do. And then we always leave it up to the pastor. You know, sometimes he'll say, hey, can you just come up we got 5 minutes during, like right after the worship set, we have the announcements, then my sermon. Can you do 5 minutes? Well, absolutely. We'll cut it down to 5 minutes, 15 minutes. We just make it work for whatever you need.
Okay.
So sometimes they'll have us come in. We'll do that. We'll talk we have a promo video. We have one that's 5 minutes. We have one that's 3 minutes. Again, we can make it brief. And then we share for a little bit and then just go from there. The main thing is if we're getting up in front of the congregation, making them aware of what we do, then we have our information table in the foyer. We're there. They can come up after the service, have a conversation with us. There's other things, too. Sometimes we do a women's prayer breakfast. We've done that where they have a main speaker. We're just there, again, going by their schedule, 5 or 10 minutes, sharing what we do, just being available to have conversations there and just being present. So It looks a lot of different ways. We can be in front of a church. We can be meeting a ministry lead in a coffee shop. I just had a meeting last week with an associate pastor in his office in the church in Newton. I mean,
okay,
we're just going to do whatever we need to do to talk to you and have a conversation with you.
Can I piggyback off that and say that small groups within churches, Sunday school classes, like she mentioned, women's prayer breakfast, we'd be happy to talk to anybody. Youth pastors.
So you have social media at all?
We do, we're working. We're working on that furiously.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. Especially our Kansas City team. They're trying to help us out as a state to get that going.
Well, and then you guys are going to be at our housing conference.
Yes,
so I'm
absolutely.
excited about that.
Yeah, we're excited about that.
That'll be an opportunity for people that attend the conference to come and check out what you're doing and talk with you a little bit. So. Any way we can spread the word to let our communities know that this agency is out there and they're working hard to help our families before, if things get out of hand and keep the kids with the parents, that's
big.
Yeah,
that's really
that's
huge to be able to keep
And I just want
together.
to add, in case a parent that's going through a tough time is listening and they're considering this, I just want to say the neat thing about Safe Families is they keep custody of their kids the whole time. We just do a power of attorney while they're being hosted. That way, if the child, hurts themselves, break a leg, whatever, has to go to the emergency room, that part's covered. So that's the sweet spot about Safe Families is that placing parent, they're in the driver's seat the whole time. They can have the hosting going on, and if something happens where they're a couple days in and they don't feel comfortable, they can get their child and go on. We can work with them if they, for some reason, aren't, comfortable with the volunteer or whatever. It's not a fit. We have other volunteers. We'll work through that. Another thing I was thinking of that I just wanted to add is in terms of how we are able to get our host families is another thing. It's very organic because we have just amazing volunteers. And so they're going about their life. And most of our volunteers, they're young families. They have their own 2 little kids, and they're just going along life, taking their kids to school, going to soccer, going to small group. And then that's been a neat little organic testimony that's happened is you have a young couple, they all of a sudden show up at their small group, and the small group is like, okay, we know you have 2 kids. Where'd you get this baby from?
Oh, yeah.
And they're able to say, oh, we do this thing called Safe Families. And the rest of the group will like, okay, that's an amazing thing. And we've gotten some volunteers through that because they see their friend walking that. But then we've had others go, okay, this is not for me. I could never take kids into my home. I can never do what you're doing, but I want to support you in that. So how can I support you? Well, you could be a family friend in that way because while they're going through a hosting, you could say, okay, they are doing a longer hosting. Maybe they need a date night. You can get vetted so you can come alongside that host family, watch the kids for 3 or 4 hours while they have a date night, or, maybe they have an appointment, doctor's appointment or something. Yeah. You can come alongside them that way and be of support. The other thing that's kind of cool, too, is if you have somebody, every once in a while we're at churches and people that, they're in their 70s, 80s going, we love what you guys do, but there's no way we can take, kids into our home.
Right.
But they're in a place financially, so they can be a resource friend. So we had a situation in Wichita a while back where we had a family, they took in 2-year-old twins.
Oh.
Well, right away, that host family, because they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart, they had extra diapers, extra formula. We needed another car seat. So then that resource friend is able to come around them, go, hey, while you're hosting these twins, we're going to come alongside you and financially help you.
Oh, yeah, that's important. That's awesome.
I love this because I feel like it's something no matter what your age is,
you can do
you
it.
can find
involved.
a place to be involved. And if nothing else, you're helping your friends do what they feel like they're being called to do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's awesome.
Oh, this is really good. So you're still looking for families in our area?
Yes, still. Just right now, I would say, both of us, we've been talking about this with Melissa just starting. We're just trying, if anybody's listening, if you would open up, let us speak at your church. It doesn't even have to be obviously we'd love a Sunday morning. I mean, get more people there. But even if you have something like a men's prayer breakfast, women's prayer breakfast, we've done that. your small group. I mean, maybe your small group has been meeting and doing a study on a way that you can do more outreach to your community, and you're like, okay, let's have them come in. We do home gatherings is what we call them, or it's just a small group that we'll present to as well.
Cool. So if you're out there, they're in 35 states, not just Kansas.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And they've been around a long time.
They have been around a long time. So if you're out there and you go to a church somewhere, you have a group, find out about Safe Families and see if you can get involved with this. Because I think it's an incredible ministry that they have to really help families get back on their feet and stabilize and all the things that are important for families to be able to move forward. And it does a lot for our kids, too. You know, when kids are going through trauma and then they have this safe support, it really does help them get through.
Yeah.
And it really makes a difference when they turn into adults and they know, okay, this is what it's supposed to look like, not that.
100%.
Not that. So that's awesome.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
Research shows that kids who remain in their home have better outcomes throughout their lives. And that, So,
absolutely.
The
Okay,
statistics in McPherson alone are big.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. And I think we struggle with even foster care parents. So that,
I'm certain,
it's a huge problem. And
it is
we're
indeed.
all responsible to get out there and help these families.
Okay, Chris, I'm just going to say, for anybody listening, you hear that heavy panting. I'll just remind you, I said this before, my dog is with us. She's very noisy.
Yes, she is.
Even just breathing.
She barks a lot, too, when she leaves the place.
She does. So, sorry, girls.
That's okay.
I just want to say, her name is Berkeley. Should have been called Barkley, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
But this is a wonderful pet that we have now running around the office, along with the other 2 cats that we have.
She adds dynamic to our podcast. So I just would like to thank everybody for listening today. If you would be interested, or you know someone who would be interested in being on our podcast, Housing for Good, drop us a line. You can do that at housingforgood@mcphersonhc.org. Be sure to click like or follow on our podcast, and thank you for joining us
Have
today.
a great, great day.